It was November 2009 in Polk County, Florida, and I was a reporter stepping into the story of a poor man who won millions of dollars in the lottery. But this wasn't a rag to riches fairy tale. It was now a missing persons case, and it would curdle into something far darker. The man grew up poor in Lakeland, Florida, about an hour from Disney. It was childhood, yeah, it was the opposite of magic. While other kids were riding Space Mountain, this little boy was trying to survive. He left school at 11 years old, barely able to read, because his family needed another pair of hands. And then at 40, lightning struck. He won $30 million. Now on paper, those numbers, they meant freedom, but in reality, they marked the beginning of trouble. But that's not the story that I ended up chasing. He wasn't a winner anymore. He had vanished without a trace. When I arrived, the media, we found ourselves orbiting this woman who called herself his financial advisor. The moment she opened her mouth, something in me, it just recoiled. It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. She was too sure of herself. And her confidence also, it didn't fit her face. And I was confused. Why was she the one speaking for him? I mean, why not family? Why not a friend? Someone who actually knew the man behind the millions. And then just like that, the Florida heat dissolved, back where I would get my answer. You see, I grew up in two worlds. In one, my parents, immigrants with thick accents and thin bank accounts, they were dismissed. I watched people slow their words and talk down to them, treating my parents like they didn't deserve the same respect as everyone else. But in the second world, I was treated like I had the golden ticket. No accent, lighter skin, and a last name that got mistaken for Italian more often than not. Costello? No, I'd say Castillo. But by then, the doors, they had already opened. And that childhood taught me a really hard truth. Power isn't always earned. Sometimes it's handed out based on snap judgments or lazy assumptions. That experience gave me this sort of X-ray vision. I learned to spot the people being pushed aside and the ones doing the pushing. And usually with the kind of confidence that comes from believing that they are superior. So there I was, decades later, I'm now a reporter, sweating under the Florida sun, when this woman rolls up in an SUV and her designer glasses, just ready to charm the cameras. And she shares this video with us in which the missing man is saying, everyone just wanted my money. And she tells us he disappeared on his own. I mean, and this is why. Ugh. The confidence. I mean, she was telling us this after she drove her fancy car out of his home that she had now moved into. I mean, she acted like she was untouchable, like she could show up with all this evidence in plain sight, and she could still talk down to all these people who are trying to find him. I mean, the boldness, it lit a fuse in me. I grabbed my microphone and I cut through all the questions with one of my own. Look, I asked this way too early and I was way too blunt and I was way too biased. Did you kill him? She said, no. But she couldn't look at me in the eyes. You know, it took years before the truth finally clawed its way out. Police arrived at a home in Plant City, Florida. It's a quiet farming town just 40 minutes from Disney World, and it's famous for its annual Strawberry Festival. But now, this place would make national news for something far less sweet. A hydraulic hammer slammed into the concrete driveway of a home. Again and again, until the ground gave up its secret. Beneath the slab was cruelty at its purest. Police believe that when he confronted her, she shot him twice and buried him under that concrete slab. A judge later sealed her fate with a conviction of first-degree murder. But the real crime, it began much earlier. She met him offering to write a book about him. That was her way in. And then she became his financial advisor, quietly, taking control of his homes and his money. She didn't just see a lottery ticket winner. She saw a man who couldn't read the documents that she handed him. And that's the truth that I learned as a 10-year-old. The cruelest kind of confidence preys on the easiest vulnerability. He may have been marginalized his whole life, but that didn't make it right. Looking back, the predator relies on society's trust towards confidence. We assume the person who looks the part is telling the truth. So your defense begins when you stop trusting that performance and you start fact-checking the confidence. In other words, learn to see the word con in confidence. Hey there, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe so that you can see my other videos.